We use integers to store whole numbers that don't have a decimal point, like 1, 2, 3, 4. In MySQL, we have 5 integer types, and these are different in terms of the number of bytes they use and the range of values they can store. Obviously, the more bytes we have, the larger the numbers we can store. So we have tinyInt, which takes only 1 byte, and with this we can store the numbers minus 128 to 127. Now, if we mark a numeric column as unsigned, it can only store positive numbers. So with an unsigned tinyInt, we'll be able to store the numbers 0 to 255. This is particularly useful when storing positive values like people's age. If we mark this column as unsigned, we can prevent a negative value from being accidentally stored in our database. Next, we have small int, which takes 2 bytes and gives us a bigger range. We also have medium int, which takes 3 bytes, int or integer, which takes 4 bytes, and big int, which takes 8 bytes. Now, don't worry about memorizing any of these ranges. You can always Google MySQL integer types, and you will see this table that clearly shows the number of bytes for each type, as well as the range of values they can store. Now, if we try to store a value outside the range of a column's data type, MySQL throws an error saying the value is out of range, so our insert and update operations will fail. Also, apart from unsigned, numeric types have another attribute, and that is called zerofill. This is useful in situations where you want to zero pad the values so they always have the same number of digits. When defining a numeric column, we can specify the display size in parentheses. For example, with int of 4, our numbers will always have 4 digits, so the number 1 will be padded with 3 zeros. Note that this will only affect how MySQL displays these values, not how it stores them, okay? Now, as a best practice, try to use the smallest data type that suits your needs. With this, your database will be smaller in size, and your queries will execute faster. For example, if you want to store the age of people, you can use an unsigned tinyInt. No one is going to age more than 255 years, at least not anytime soon. So 1 byte is sufficient to store people's age. You may think that saving a byte or 2 doesn't really matter these days because disk space is cheap. That is true, but trust me, if you're dealing with large amounts of data, your queries will perform better if you use every byte consciously, because these bytes of data will have to be transferred between the disk and the memory. So the less data you have in memory, the faster your queries are going to be. So keep things smaller and more compact.